All right, the Reds, talking Reds on the eve of a massive game against Manchester United at Old Trafford. We all want to win this one. Loads of mancs are going on Twitter and saying it doesn't matter and it's a fight for nothing, that they're not bothered. Yeah, all right then, whatever boys. This game always matters and it does me head in when anyone tries to play it down. I remember Mark Ogden years ago, I think when he was writing for the Telegraph, going on about it's like two ball fellas fighting over a comb. No, it isn't, mate. It's about, I want to beat Man United at Everton. I want to be better than Manx at Everton. I want Liverpool as a city to be better than Manchester as a city at everything. I want Liverpool bands to go higher in the charts than Manchester bands. That's what it's about. They're only down the road there, and they're not dissimilar to us as a group of people, so we want to be better than them. We want to wear better clobber, have better haircuts, be better at Everton, including this big football match. So anyone playing it down, shut up. Okay, so today as well, not only a special treat for you today as well, because not only have we got Ian Ryan on the show, we've got Jamie Carragher on the show as well. So we're going to have the usual chat about the Reds and about stuff in the papers today about the Reds, and then there's a 10-minute exclusive chat with Jamie Carragher about what it's like to play against Manchester United, what it's like to go to Old Trafford and have a load of mancs calling you a scouse bastard for 90 minutes, and what it's like to play in that. Basically, it was a good chat with them. So stay tuned for that. But first of all, we're going to get into there's an article today in the Telegraph which I found interesting, and it's about Liverpool minus Philippe Coutinho. Now, if we wind back, obviously me included, by the way, a little bit worried about selling one of our best players for £142 million to Barcelona and no replacement coming in. I would still say that, we've done well, obviously, and we're doing great, and that's sound, but I would still say that those worries from fans were perfectly understandable, because, you look at players, and it mentions in the article, players like Alonso, Torres and Suarez, when they left, when we sold basically our best player, we saw league finishes plummet. We weren't as good of a side, and all right, we have done well, and some of the Klopp stuff about change of focus perhaps, and not relying on a good player, if you like, and it being more about a team. I think he's right about that, but 2 months on, it's going well, but like I say, understandable why we had some concerns, wasn't it?
Absolutely understandable, and I was probably in a similar camp to you. It massively worried me, because it's hard to make a case for losing your best player. I mean, you just can't make a good case for that, and there's no doubt, even though we've gone on to have some really good form, he still was one of our best players. A player who's capable of that kind of, little bit of genius in really kind of important moments. But the sides, I think Klopp's reference there, you just touched on it there, maybe now they're not just relying on Philippe Coutinho, so people are maybe taking ownership a little bit more, and that's good to see. And I don't think, certainly from my perspective, I didn't think it would be quite as easy to cover the loss of Phil. And as I say, if we can get through this season, and who knows where it ends in terms of, I think top four's looking pretty good, but we've all got one eye on that Champions League glory, haven't we? So who knows where that ends, but I think, looking at it right now, we've managed that kind of loss of that player really, really well, and people have stepped up, and I think there's been, and you can't compare them as players, but there's been a resurgence from James Milner, for instance, who's playing really, really well in the last month, and then Oxlade-Chamberlain's he's kicked on, he looks really good. I fancy him to start against United on Saturday, and obviously people like Henderson and Can, different types of players, but again they've showed decent form over the last month or so. So I think we're doing all right. We're doing better than all right.
Do you think there was a little bit of a sort of a McManaman effect with Coutinho? And what I mean by that is, anyone who's old enough to remember when McManaman played for us, he was streets ahead the most creative player we had in the side at the time, and so there was a tendency to give the ball to McManaman at all times, to look to him to create, look to him to win you the match. Do you think there was a little bit of that with Phil?
I think so, and I think Phil demands the ball, doesn't he? He wants the ball. Whatever level of football you play at, the best players always want the ball off everyone, and when it's not going so well, there's a tendency from probably other players to think, right, just give it to Phil, he'll produce something, he'll a little bit of magic, he'll beat a player and put one in the top bin from 30 yards. We've seen him do it loads, so he's more than capable of doing it. But now that option is not there. Now, obviously, we've still got 3 absolute belters at the top end of the pitch who can pretty much do whatever they want. It was great having that other little player behind who can obviously pull the strings, but as I say, he's gone now, and he's none of our business anymore. And as I say, it would be at some point in this Champions League journey, it would be great to play Barcelona, I think, at some point. And whether that would be if it was the final, imagine it was the final.
Just a little sulky Coutinho face in the stands.
It's the whole kind of Michael Owen thing, isn't it? We leave before we go win the Champions League. Something like that again would be brilliant. But as I say, Jurgen obviously had a longer term plan, and I don't think, going into the season he would have wanted to lose Phil, but I think he probably knew during the summer that in January he was going to have to move him on. But as I say, at the minute, it looks really, really good. And obviously, we've strengthened at the back. I touched on it on the pink after the Porto game. We've brought in this giant of a football player who's absolutely dominating it at the back. He's doing everything you thought he'd do as a football player. And I think what you find when you bring in certain types of lads who you'd maybe label as leaders, and Van Dijk's one of them, they drag people to another level. You've seen it with people like Steven Gerrard, but other people at other clubs as well. People like Tony Adams, Keane, people like that, John Terry. They make other players play better. Yeah. They make them kind of get up to another level, because you look at them and you think, fucking hell, I need to raise my game here. And I think Van Dijk's absolutely had that impact on Liverpool, certainly in the back four, and certainly I think there's a case to say he's helping the goalkeeper as well.
Van Dijk's going to be filling the tunnel at Old Trafford tomorrow. He's just going to be giving it one of them going, all right.
Walk around me, son, walk around me.
Bring it on, boys. Well, I mean, just to go into a little bit of detail in this article, it's worth a read. It's in the Telegraph today. He says in the article, since Coutinho's departure, Mohamed Salah has 9 goals and 3 assists in 9 starts. Sadio Mane has 6 goals in 5. Roberto Firmino has more tackles than any other attack-minded player in the Premier League in that time, 17, enough to rank in the overall top 20 as well, which is obviously decent when you're a forward. He's also scored 6 goals and 4 assists in just 10 appearances. Quite mad, but also is that, despite only playing 14 times in the league this season, Coutinho actually still ranks 3rd for shots attempted by Liverpool's players. He accounts for just 3.9% of Liverpool's minutes played, but 10.7% of attempts on goal. Straight away you would think about those pot shots that he used to have, which weren't always great, let's be honest. He had that one that he always used to drag wide, that was dead on him. He scored some absolute belters, but there was also times where he was frustrating with his shooting.
There's times you want to punch him in the face. He's hitting Rose Ed on 30 yards, but you let him off because, now and again, probably more than now and again, there was a chance he could put one in the top bin, so that's why you allow for it. But there was loads of times when he was wasteful with other players in better positions and stuff, but you allow for it because there was genius there at times. So
there's loads of research gone into this, as I say, really interesting. The last one, I don't want to just completely read his whole article out, sorry mate, but we read the Telegraph, but he says pot shots from distance are rarer these days, and Liverpool are having fewer shots in total post Coutinho, 11.4 per Premier League game, down from 13.1, but they're scoring more goals, so the conversion rate has actually improved since Phil left. So, all good basically. I'm not being negative at all here about Phil going. Quite the opposite. I'm saying we're sound, we're doing all right without you, mate. Ta-da. Okay, there's an under-23s game tonight versus Manchester United at Anfield. If you want to get in the mood for the big one tomorrow, it's only £3 and £1 for concessions. It's free to members and season ticket holders. But most importantly here, the club have asked everyone really in the media, including us, to give this a shout. You've got to get your tickets in advance. So you can't just rock up with your season ticket and walk in. Unfortunately, you've got to get down there before 5 o'clock, get a ticket in advance. As I say, free if you're a member or a season ticket holder, but you just got to get down there and do that. There's no turnstiles open later than that, so there's a little message if you fancy that one. Other things quickly then, Keita again, looking absolutely boss. Some clips being shared last night on social media, absolutely storming through midfield, lays off a great assist, it goes in the back of the net, and it's one of them where you're like, I can't wait to see this fella in the red shirt. So he was fantastic there. Dejan Lovren's done an interview. Loads of people's heads have fell off about this. I'm not quite sure why. On the one hand, there's people saying he always does this and he always talks himself up when he's had a few decent games. Yeah, but lads, you want your players to speak You want your player, you want to hear from them. I've seen people literally saying, when I turned on Twitter this morning, saying, you know, the club needs to ban the players from talking. No, they don't. They're already behind big gates and mansions and everything else, and we're all talking about how they're not in touch with, you know, the rest of society. The idea that they stop speaking is a little bit mad. And also, I mean, I read the interview. I was expecting to see something really mad in it. I read it, and it didn't make me fume whatsoever. He says he thinks United will park the bus. Well, we're all saying that. Yeah. He says he thinks Liverpool never play for a point. They always go all out for victories. We've all said that. He said the way Liverpool play puts a bit of a pressure on defenders in terms of like the high line and stuff like that.
That's been referenced loads of times in shows.
I think that's absolutely fair enough. He says if you make a mistake as a defender, you end up more under the spotlight than maybe players further forward. Absolutely spot on again. And then he also talked about having a bit of a tough time personally. There was a break-in at his house when his daughter and his wife were home, which wouldn't be great, you know, no matter how much more money you earn a week. And he talked about that he got a death threat on social media, and obviously, you know, his form wasn't great. He had that situation in the last defeat in the league, Spurs away, where he just had an absolute nightmare and he was hooked. I mean, have you read this interview? Did it make you fume?
I've only picked up bits, Robert, but it didn't make me fume at all, to be honest with you. I think everything you've just mentioned there, it's hard to find an issue with it. I think sometimes you forget that these football players, they're just human beings as well, you know what I mean?
He says that in the interview.
So, you know, when things happen in their lives, death threats, you know, someone burgles your house, that's going to have a massive impact on you. It would in any walk of life, whichever job you kind of do. So to suddenly or somehow think that just because these guys are footballers and they earn loads of money, and whilst that's amazing, that doesn't mean that you can just cope with mad things happening to you. So
your mental state is massive. You know,
of course it is.
Like you just said, you know, the money, your house, all that. It's not, you know, it's the mental state. If you're in the right mental state of mind, then you can be brilliant at what you do. And if you're not, it drags you down. Yeah. You know, you're not ready. You're not at your best.
Yeah.
I know. I've had a bit of this myself. You know what I mean. So I've got every sympathy for him, and I think we just need to get off his back. And all this idea about, you know, he needs to stop doing interviews. It's fine. It's just an interview. It's just them talking to a journalist and a few headlines. It's got no bearing whatsoever on what happens on the football pitch. We spoke to a lot of footballers doing this down the years, and loads of them they don't look at the media. They don't get involved with it because, you know, again, the mental state thing. They think it's actually better to almost squirrel themselves away from it and not read the headlines.
I think you're right, because I think some players now are quite cautious, aren't they? And they think, well, someone's trying to catch me out here, so they'll just completely shy away from it. And I agree. I mean, you don't want a scenario where all of a sudden top level players just aren't engaging at all, because as fans you want to know what players think, you want to hear what they want to say. And I think now in this day and age of kind of media trained footballers, you don't get many kind of real kind of gold nuggets, do you? So suddenly they don't open up at all. So when someone does open up, then I think that should be embraced. I think in terms of Dejan himself, I think from a football perspective, he's actually looking
all right.
Looking all right at the minute. He's the one. I mean, I've been critical of him in the past. He's not my, you know, he's not someone I've kind of, you know, said should be a future Liverpool player for the long term. I think there's an upgrade to be made there. Yeah. But I think at the minute, if you're looking at partnerships in terms of that back line, him and Van Dijk looks like the one for me that complements each other more so than say choice. Absolutely. And I think, you know, there's times where he may look to Matip, but at the minute Matip to me looks a little bit shaky. And I think in terms of tomorrow's game, I'll be surprised if it's not Van Dijk and Lovren.
Yeah, fair play to Dejan for opening up, and good luck to him tomorrow in tomorrow's match. In terms of that match, I don't want to get into it too much because we've got Jamie Carragher coming up and he's going to be talking about that, and we've been talking about it all week. Plus it is all over the podcast that we do every day, including Team Talk, which is coming up later today. But I was just having a look at this before because I mean, we've been quite bullish, I think, this week talking about it because we think about our attackers, we think about how well we've been playing, and we think we can go there and blow them away. I've woke up today feeling a little bit more cautious about it. The only reason being, I was looking at it just then, Liverpool's away form in the league is second only to Manchester City, and no side in the league has scored more goals on the road, 34 in 14 games, than Liverpool. But equally though, United's home record is second only to Manchester City. They've taken 35 points from 14 at home, won 11, drawn 2, lost 1. That's pretty good. You know, a lot of people are writing them off, saying they're not a great United side, saying about, you know, Mourinho's tactics and whether that suits the brand of Manchester United. I get all those arguments, but nevertheless, it's going to be hard to go there and get a result. It's going to be a battle, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the first goal in any game's always important, and it always feels big, but it especially feels big tomorrow, because if they get that first goal, then you do think, no, I don't think they'll set up to be adventurous anyway, because let's be honest, Mourinho will be only too aware of what we can do on the counter-attack.
And a point's all right for them.
And a point's all right, because they've got that win against Crystal Palace. I think being at home, fans will demand that they attack a little bit, so I don't think they can just come and just absolutely sit in. They'll have to show some ambition, and they've got players who can hit it in the final third. But he won't go gung-ho, let's be honest. He's going to be only too aware of what this Liverpool team can do to anyone on the counter. And I think they're one of the few sides in the top 6 who don't look to attack in every single game. You know, the likes of us, City, Spurs, we just play our normal game and we'll look to take it apart if we can. But United don't. And I think their home record, by hook or by crook, they seem to get results, don't they? They seem to kind of be able to manage themselves through games where they're still picking up points. It's not great to watch, and you have to wonder at some point, you know, I know these United fans who really kind of are bang into Mourinho, but how long does it last? It doesn't tend to last too often with him, does it? He starts to piss people off. But watching that football week in, week out, when you've been used to, let's be honest, some really, really good stuff, I think it's got a short shelf life, if I'm being honest. But tomorrow's game, you're absolutely right. It's not going to be easy, but I do think if we get the first goal, we drag them out a little bit, then there could be a scenario where we start picking holes. I mean, if they're going with that back line that they went with against Palace, I'd fancy us massively. Now, I don't know whether they can maybe get 1 or 2 centre-halves fit. They've been going with Smalling and Lindelof the last couple of weeks. That's weak to me. That's got loads of potential for mistakes. And when you've got our lads who are fast and alert to stuff, I have to say I do fancy us. But I think you're right. I think it could be a really tight, certainly opening half an hour. Yeah,
and it's about time, let's be honest, that De Gea has a shit game. So come on, football gods, let him, you know, give us a goal. You know, he needs to stop having blinders against us. Well, up next, as promised, Jamie Carragher chatting away to us about what it's like to play in one of these games. After Jamie, we'll be back looking at the day's papers. All right, joined by Jamie Carragher now. And Jamie, just wanted to get, you know, big game at Old Trafford, 12:30 on Saturday. What's it like to play at Old Trafford against the Manx, being a Scouser, you know, your rival, a team that you want to beat so much? You know, what's it like to line up against them? I mean, I've read some stuff from you in the past inside Hughes' book where you talked about, like, you know, not wanting to shake anyone's hand, not wanting to look at them, just like a steely determination, wanting to beat them.
Yeah, I think you get yourself, you can't be like that every single game, but certain games you get yourself into a zone. I think Old Trafford away, Man United is one of them. Goodison's the same, where you're just so fixated on winning. I mean, in a lot of games that you play, you want to play well yourself, of course, and that's in your mind as well, you want to win. I think in certain games like them, you sacrifice your own performance, you just want to win that much. The result is just absolutely everything, really. But listen, it's a tough place to go. We had some good results there, certainly under Gerard Houllier away at Old Trafford. I think we won a few years on the bounce, but it's different playing at Old Trafford than playing at Anfield, because it's so much bigger and there's so much space on the pitch. So they're used to playing on that week in, week out. We're used to playing at Anfield a little bit tighter, really. So it wasn't easy, it was difficult at times, and also because they had great sides and we're coming up against them. I certainly don't think this team matches up to some of the others, really. So I think it's more, I think this Liverpool team and Man United are very close, there's very little in it, whereas a lot of the time we were playing against them, they were a slightly better side than us at times, but we did get some good results there. And, you know, at the weekend you're thinking, you know, can Liverpool do that again? Haven't had great results there, I think, of late. I think if Rodgers went there, the team won, didn't it? Yeah. Quite convincingly, but I don't think, has Klopp managed twice there, has he? He hasn't lost, has he? Or he hasn't
won in the league. Hasn't won in the league, has he?
Hasn't he? No. No, did we use the UEFA game?
Yeah, that was
yeah, but he hasn't lost there, has he? No. Well, hopefully, you know, that will continue. But it'd be nice if we can you don't expect to win at Old Trafford every season, but it's nice to get one every 3 or 4 years that you get a victory there.
How vital do you think it is where Liverpool and United are now for Liverpool to go and try and win this time now, because of the second place thing and they're a couple of points ahead of us now in the league. Probably a draw is a good result for them, but it'd be nice for us, wouldn't it, momentum-wise, because of where we are in the Champions League and everything else. If we'd be buzzing, wouldn't we, if we get a win there, is what I'm saying.
I think with Chelsea's results, the fact we've won our last 2 games and Chelsea's results of late have given us that little bit of a gap, whereas you'd actually be looking over your shoulder thinking about Chelsea. Now, we can go there now and think, let's go for the win. It's not a case of let's just draw and make sure, Chelsea. Yeah, you still got to have Chelsea at the back of your mind, although you've got that points gap, but I think we should be even thinking more positive now and think, let's be looking to overtake Man United. So actually, let's go there on the front foot. There's talk of Mourinho, even though he's at home, the fact he won at Crystal Palace, does that mean they'll be happy with the draw? Man United, even though they're the home side. But there's no doubt Mourinho will have something to stop Liverpool's front three, or it won't just be about what they're going to do to us. That's the way he manages, and you have to admire that in some ways. He's had so much success doing that. He done it against Chelsea. I was there that day. He man-marked Hazard in the game. He'd done that before. Maybe he'll do something similar with Liverpool. As we know, we come to Anfield, got a 0-0. Very few teams have done that this season, but I expect Liverpool to be on the front foot maybe a little bit more than Manchester United, or I hope so.
And in those games, again, just going back to that point, in those games, what's it like as a player to sort of keep you calm, if you like? I mean, we've seen you put in a few tackles down the years. Everyone remembers the one against Nani, obviously, get some crying and everything else. You go.
Get anyone crying that one.
But you go out there, don't you? Go out there determined, you want to beat them, but is there a part here where you've got to hold yourself back a little bit? You want to stay on the pitch, don't you? You know what I mean? You don't want to get a red card. And we've got the derby coming up as well, and there's been a lot of red cards in derbies. I think more than any other fixture, I think I'm right in saying. So, how hard is that as a player to almost keep it under a little bit, but at the same time have a level that's going to help you win the game?
Well, to be honest, the disciplinary record in the Man United Liverpool game, I don't think is that bad. For whatever reason. But in those games, I always felt derby games, I'd always speak to the referee before the game and say, we're allowed one each, aren't we? That type of, just puts a little seed in the referee's head. Because you'd always, when you made a challenge, I always, like every challenge you put in, no matter who you were playing, you give 100% in the challenge. But against Man United and Everton, you want to leave a little bit on someone, really, in them games. So you'd hopefully, the first 15, 20 minutes, you'd get away with one or two. But I think that's actually cost Everton in derby games. They've actually completely lost their control because they want to win that much and they get that wound up about things.
So that with Barkley, didn't
yeah, at Goodison Park especially, because they get whipped up by the crowd. And that's played into our hands for years, that. But Man United, I think, you're coming up against, obviously, top-class players, so also the mentality, the discipline within those games get involved as well. I think Stevie's obviously had a couple of ones where he's left a little bit too much on people, but I think them top-level games, you've got to have that. People always say, fire in the belly, ice in the head type of thing. That was always something that was mentioned by managers before you go out. And I think you've got to have that. You've got to have that fire, but it's got to be controlled. And
do you think Liverpool now have got that? Everyone's talking about the front three, obviously, for obvious reasons. Great goal scoring record, the flying in. But you see something steely about Liverpool now as well. I mean, the other night, for instance, you saw Henderson put a challenge in and the lad's on his arse on the floor and Henderson standing over him. And I'm watching it from the cop going, it's the 91st minute, mate, and we're all right.
Yeah.
But I liked it, do you know what I mean? I liked that there was a bit of, as you say, fire in his belly there.
No, I do, and I've said this before of late. I think people still have this idea, not Liverpool supporters, around the country, football fans, that, that's typical Liverpool. They could win one week and lose the next. What happened with City and Swansea? But it's nonsense, that, because I think Liverpool have lost 4 games of the last 50 or something, 4 or 5 games in the last 50. That is so consistent, that really under Klopp. So when I hear people at times question him, or how good a job is he doing, or Liverpool is still inconsistent, or all these different things that have been thrown at Liverpool, they're not right, really. They're just sort of these cliches that aren't, if you actually look at the facts, they're not right. So Liverpool aren't a team who are who flip-flop between one thing to another. It's a very, very consistent unit. Jurgen Klopp's built at this moment. And as I said, to lose only that amount of games, considering you're playing Champions League football, the level of the Premier League now, the managers, the top six has probably never been stronger. And I think it just shows what a job he's done. And you have to have steel. Yeah. If you're going to run like that, mentality, strength, organisation, you have to have those things, because you're not going to play every week, play well every week. The front three aren't going to be on fire every week. So you need to have something behind that keeps you together.
And how important, last of all, is just having an experienced head there? Because I think in recent weeks we've seen Milner play a really important part for Liverpool. And I think it's no coincidence that if you look back at the record of his appearances since he's been at Liverpool, managers have always leaned on him in big games because of his experience, I'm guessing.
It does, and you sometimes look at Milner and you think it'd be nice to have had him 10 years ago.
Yeah.
In some ways, really, he is coming to the latter part of his career, and at this moment he's probably your best sub in some ways, or the best squad player. He can play different positions, and he never ever lets you down. And you think of what he did last season at left back. Yeah. Really, and again he comes into the side, and then he plays well. And you think, well, how can he leave him out of the next game? So he always gives the manager that problem, really, and that is the one sort of regret. Maybe he's not the same type of player, but he can maybe have that Gary McAllister role that we had in 2001, where he wasn't a nailed-on starter, but he got to the stage where you couldn't leave him out towards the end of that season, and he had to play, and you had to maybe put Stevie on the right because McAllister was playing that well, and that may be something going forward in this Champions League run. I think he's got more assists than anyone, I think, in the Champions League. So you might look at things like that and think, well, okay, maybe he doesn't get in my best 11, but I've got to pick him in, put him in these games for the experience and the fact that he's just on a great run in this tournament, doing so well. So I think he's got a big part to play this season. Yeah.
What was Gary like in that dressing room for you that season? I mean, obviously we could see what he was doing on the pitch, and he scores in, well, it's an own goal, isn't it, against Allardyce? But I'm sure he was putting his hand up for putting the ball in. But how important was he? Because I remember, I can't remember what game it was, but I could hear him on the pitch talking to Stevie, saying "squeeze Stevie," and talking through the game a little bit, like.
But I think he was good. Good for the dressing room, because he'd won things at Leeds. He'd won a league title. He had that experience, that class. I think a lot of people were scratching their heads when he first came in, to be honest, because he'd come in at 35. But the role he played, it was just a masterstroke from Gerard Houllier, really. But I think with the midfielders, Steve, you had Danny Murphy there also, young players sort of coming through. Jamie Redknapp was out for a long time with an injury that season, so it was sort of more of a replacement for him also. But I think the effect he had on probably those two young players who at that time played a major part in, was winning the 3 trophies that season. So, I mean, it was just a magical time. It'll never be forgotten with the goal he got at Goodison. So hopefully Milner can knock a 40-yard free kick in at Goodison in a few weeks' time.
That'd be nice. Prediction for Old Trafford then, how do you see it going?
I think it'll be 1-1. I think Man United will be desperate not to lose the game. I think we'll try and win the game. But it's a tough place to go. I think only City have won there. Under Guardiola, they've won there twice in the last couple of seasons, but I don't think anyone else has won there. So it is a tough place to go. Not because I think this Man United team is a great side. I just think Mourinho makes his teams tough to beat, tough to play against. So it will be tough no matter for the front three. He'll have a plan to nullify that, and it's also, can we nullify their strengths going forward as well? So I think it'll be nip and tuck, and I think we'll have enough to get a goal. And I think I'd say with 20 minutes, 25 minutes to go, if the game is a draw, I don't think Man United will be going out the way to win the game.
All right, Jamie, thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, big thanks to Jamie Carragher for coming in and having a chat with us. Very good of him to give up his time and some insight there into what it's like to play against Manchester United, against Everton, against your rivals. So yeah, fantastic that. Made up that he did that. And thanks again to everyone that subscribes, because it's the subscriptions to the podcast that allow us to do these videos, that allow us to have an office and invite Jamie in and everything else. So is right you. In the papers today then, I mean, the big surprise for everyone is that Arsenal have won a game of football. And some headlines on that. Ramsey treat on the back of the Mail, which I like, a bit of a Neighbours themed headline there. You've got in the Mirror, you've got the San Heroes. because of course they beat AC Milan in the San Siro.
May not be in that neighbours one.
No, the neighbours one's a cracker, isn't it, to be honest with you? That's won it. And then in the Times, clinical Arsenal stop the rot. Needs a bit of work, that one, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've seen better.
But you know, I mean, you watch the game. I mean, you know, it's obviously a good result for them. I mean, I didn't know an awful lot about AC Milan and how they're playing at the moment, to be honest. I know they got Gattuso there, and I kind of thought, well, they're at home. Arsenal are in the depths of misery. I expected them to get beat. So to see, you know, them win 2-0, well, fair play to them.
Yeah, I mean, you know, 2-0's a good result. To go away from home and get a 2-0 to San Siro, you can't argue with it. I think, you know, when people think of AC Milan, they very much think of AC Milan of years gone by, where they were they were a great football side and they were dominating Europe. No, it's not the same AC Milan team. So yeah, good result, but it was against an AC Milan side that I've definitely seen better days. I think from Arsenal's perspective, they just needed to find a win from somewhere. I mean, in the Premier League, they've absolutely gone, haven't they? You know, they're in danger of, I was going to say finishing below Everton, but that's a bit wild, isn't it? But certainly finishing below Burnley or someone like that is more than kind of something that you could see happen, because there's not that much of a points difference. But to go away from home, I mean, they've got to throw everything at that Europa League now, haven't they? That's the only chance they've got.
It's the way out for Wenger.
I still don't think they've got a good enough squad to go win that trophy, I have to say. I think the year United won it looked a little bit weak that year, and I think if Arsenal were playing in it that year, maybe they've had a chance, but there's still some really strong sides in there. So, decent result last night. Knowing Arsenal, though, the ties are probably not over, you know what I mean? They could easily shit the keks in the second leg, couldn't they? And end up kind of, you know, 2-2 and going out on pens or something mad like that. So,
we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, just, you know, update on Sam's well-being behind the camera.
I've been worried about it.
Yeah, he's a lot more chipper today. He's got a smile on his face, which is nice to see. And from one Sam to another, from a nice Sam to a prick of a Sam, big Sam at Everton.
I think you're leaving him out for a minute.
No, I mean, someone complained on yesterday's video, and rightly so. You know, where was the gravy update? The gravy snorting Everton manager has come good. He's been chatting shit yet again. Here he is. He's on the back of the mirror. Big Sam. Fans are wrong. I didn't smirk after our defeat. I've got to disagree with you here, Sam. I was sitting in my bills, in ours, watching Sky, laughing at the whole performance, thinking about getting ready to go to Anfield that day. And you did smile, mate. And I remember someone cut it, you know, they filmed it on the phone, they put it on Twitter, it got shared. You definitely smiled. He said about the fans booing them, he said about the songs that the fans were singing. Big, massive smile on his face. And now here he is saying, Sam Allardyce has denied he was smirking at Everton fans after the desperate defeat to Burnley. His actual quote, which, you know, it's funny, isn't it? Let's quickly get into it. He says, I'm more disappointed than them when I was asked the question. I don't know what my facial expressions look like when I'm answering questions, to be honest. Well, Sam, you had a massive smile on your face. It was like someone had put a bath of gravy in front of you and you were delighted and you wanted to take your kit off, get in there and swim round in the Bisto. That's what your face said. And if you're an Everton fan who's paying your money week after week to watch that shite, you're not going to be happy if your manager's grinning on national TV. So don't try and cover it up now, mate.
I'll be disappointed if he's not doing that bath thing, by the way.
If
he's not doing that, I'll be disappointed.
He definitely does that. He's got one of them big, massive round ones, and he just gets the missus to fill it up with gravy, and he takes a run and jump, and just like...
Fucking hell, what's the walls?
Oh, well, it's been reinforced and that, you know what I mean?
What's the walls?
There's like
gravy everywhere.
There's girders underneath the bathroom floor and all that. Yeah, he's got like splashbacks all around. Mate. Yeah. And then he just licks the walls after his bathing gravy.
Wild.
It's going mad, this, isn't it? We really need to end these gravy chats. I'm running out of gravy jokes, to be honest. On the Anfield app today, there is the team talk straight after Jurgen Klopp's press conference about the Man United game. Looking forward to that one. Looking forward to building ourselves up and getting excited about that game at Old Trafford. There is an AFQ out there today. I've explained that before, but basically people ask us really mad questions on Twitter, and we answer them. A panel of people answer them, including me today, so I'm looking forward to that. It's always a laugh. And then the City Talk show will be out there as ever. That's every Friday on City Talk. You can listen to it live, or you can listen to it later as a free podcast if you don't subscribe to Tour Player, which you really should. So thanks a lot. Thanks for staying with us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all your nice comments. We do read them all. People keep asking, are you reading these? Yes, we are. We religiously read them. We're made up that you're watching it. We hope you enjoyed Carragher today. We hope you enjoyed Ian Ryan. Up the Reds. Let's smash the Manx. Bring on your Manchester United. Bring on your Cockneys by the score.